There are tracks you race, and then there's RedBud. The start stretches out in front of you like a warning shot. Flags are already waving before the gate drops. The crowd is louder than your bike before you've even settled in. The dirt gets deeper every lap. Ruts don't just form, they swallow lines whole. The field fans out across the track and the race starts sorting itself out in the chaos, and somewhere in the trees, the chant is already building. RedBud. RedBud. This isn't a polished track, and it never feels fully under control. And before you figure out what it is, it's already getting away from you. RedBud didn't start as a destination, it started as land. In 1973, on a stretch of farmland outside Buchanan, Michigan, the Ritchie family, along with another family, built a motocross track. Back then, there was no blueprint for it to become one of the most iconic stops in the sport. Just a piece of property, a growing passion, and the idea that racing should feel connected to the land, not manufactured on top of it. At the time, the focus was simple: build a track that riders had to adapt to, not the other way around. From the beginning, RedBud wasn't designed to be perfect. It was designed to be real. Natural elevation, open layout, soil that behaved differently depending on weather and usage. The track didn't force consistency, it allowed variation. That means riders couldn't rely on memorization. They had to adapt lap by lap, reading lines as they developed and disappeared. That identity never changed. By the late 70s and early 80s, it had become a regular stop on the AMA Pro Motocross calendar, but it didn't earn that spot by being the cleanest venue or the most polished facility. It earned it because riders knew exactly what they were getting into, a track that would test them physically, mentally, and technically without softening the experience. You didn't just show up to race RedBud, you showed up to survive it. And you can see it in who wins here. The guys at the front, the ones holding plates, building legacies, this is where they prove it. And while the sport evolved around it, RedBud stayed rooted. Other tracks modernized into controlled environments, tighter layouts, more predictable surfaces, more engineered features. RedBud evolved too, but it never lost what made it different. The layout has been refined, safety is improved, infrastructure has grown, but the core experience still feels untouched in the ways that matter. The ruts deepen, the lines spread apart, and by the end of the day, the track still feels like it's fighting back. The track evolved with the sport, but the Ritchies never let it lose that grassroots identity. Because in a sport where so many venues feel interchangeable, RedBud doesn't. It has memory built into it. Generations of riders have raced there, and each one has left something behind. Lines, stories, moments that add to the identity instead of replacing it. Fans don't just watch RedBud from the hillsides, they feel it. They carry it out of the gate with them every year they come back. Riders don't just go to RedBud, they respect it. RedBud wasn't built to impress anyone. It was built to be ridden hard. And over time, that honesty turned it into something bigger than just another stop on the calendar. Not because it changed with every era, but because it never fully stopped feeling like RedBud. That's why riders don't just remember this place, they carry it with them. RedBud doesn't ride like other tracks, it shifts on you. Michigan loam looks soft and forgiving at the start of the day. Give it a few laps and it breaks apart. Lines deepen, edges square off. What felt wide open early in the day turns into something technical and unforgiving a few laps later. The surface goes from smooth to chewed up fast, forcing riders to rethink everything they thought they knew about the track they just walked. The lines that worked early are gone, and if you trust them, they'll put you on the ground. That's where RedBud separates itself. The layout feels open, almost deceptively so. Big straights, wide corners, space to move, but that doesn't make it easier. It makes it chaotic. Riders aren't locked into one line, they're constantly searching, adjusting, improvising. One lap, you're railing the outside. The next, that same line is blown out and useless, forcing you to find speed somewhere new. So you start guessing, and guessing at RedBud costs you. The start tells you everything about RedBud immediately. Long, wide, and fast. It gives the field just enough room for things to get messy right away. Bikes spread across the track, lines crossing before the race even settles in. Dirt and roost cutting visibility before riders even reach the first turn. It's not organized chaos, it's just chaos, amplified by speed. and that energy never really goes away. The track rewards aggression, but only if it's controlled. You can charge, but you better know where you're landing. Push the wrong line halfway and it comes back at you fast. Half decisions don't work here. RedBud punishes hesitation harder than mistakes. That's why it feels alive. It reacts to the riders. The more they push, the more it fights back. Ruts don't just appear, they evolve. A clean berm becomes a trap. A straight line becomes a series of square edges that punish your suspension and your timing at the same time. Even small errors compound quickly, turning manageable sections into survival zones. And eventually, pure speed stops mattering. Now it's just about control. This is where riders start making real decisions, not just about passing, but about risk. Do you stay aggressive and lose the front end in a deep rut? Do you back it down and give up time? Do you trust the line that worked last lap, even though you can feel it breaking underneath you? RedBud forces those questions constantly. It's not difficult because it's tight or overly technical. It's difficult because the track never stops changing underneath you. It might be the most unpredictable, and unpredictability is what exposes riders, not just physically, but mentally. Because at RedBud, you're not just racing the track, you're reacting to it in real time. And if you're late on that reaction, the track doesn't forgive you. Some tracks are remembered for layouts. RedBud is remembered for moments, and those moments usually happen in the same places, sections where hesitation costs you immediately. The most iconic of all is LaRocco's leap. Named after Mike LaRocco, the leap became legendary after he was the first rider to fully clear it on a 125, turning what looked impossible into something riders suddenly had to chase.
And they expected that we would not see him again in 1992. Whoa, look at that jump that was just uncorked by Mike LaRocco. Earlier today, we'll get back to the Lamson story in a second, but earlier today, LaRocco discussed that long triple jump that he had a hand in building on this RedBud track. And we wondered at the time, as did several riders, if that triple jump would be a factor in the 125 competition.
The jump itself was inspired by a massive obstacle at LaRocco's private track called Kong. But at RedBud, it became something bigger, a section riders respected before they even reached it. The corner before it matters almost as much as the jump itself. Riders come through a deep left-hand sweeper carrying as much momentum as they can, trying to stay light over breaking bumps and square edges before driving straight into the face. And once you commit, there's no adjusting.
Going through the turn before it, you definitely got to carry your speed and try not to stab it, but you just got to have a good line and a good rut, because if that isn't there on a light spike, you won't make it.
The takeoff is steep enough that the landing disappears underneath you, forcing riders to trust speed, timing, and instinct all at once. There's no safe version of it. That's what made it famous. Not just the size, the consequence. Come up short, and you don't just lose time. You destroy momentum, sometimes wheels, sometimes the entire lap. But when riders hit it clean, you feel the reaction immediately. The crowd spikes, the gap opens, and for a second, the whole place feels built around that one jump. And if you watch closely, you can tell who's fully committed and who's thinking about it too much before they ever leave the ground. And that same pressure is there from the second the gate drops. RedBud doesn't ease riders into the race, it puts them under stress immediately, before the field has even found a rhythm. That's why the pressure at RedBud never really fades. It just keeps building. The sand and ruts finish the job. The soft Michigan soil breaks apart into deep ruts that don't follow clean patterns. Corners get carved out unevenly. Straights turn into rows of square edges that hit your suspension and your timing simultaneously. And once the ruts get deep enough, you're committed, whether you like it or not. There's no adjusting mid-corner, no backing out. If you pick the wrong rut, you ride it all the way through and deal with whatever comes next, good or bad. That's where mistakes stop being small. Together, those features don't just define RedBud visually, they define how it feels to ride it. And that feeling is the same every year. You're either in control, or the track is. Most races have fans. RedBud has participants, because the crowd at RedBud doesn't sit back and watch the race unfold, they drive it. From the moment the gates open, the place feels different. Hillsides fill up early, flags start going up, American flags, team flags, anything that can move in the wind, really. Coolers, trucks, music, people everywhere. It doesn't feel like a sporting event yet. It feels like something closer to a festival, something alive before a single bike even hits the track. For a lot of fans, RedBud starts long before the first moto. Campers roll in days early and stay packed into the grounds all 4th of July weekend. Golf carts move non-stop between campsites. Campsites turn into little landmarks. Generators humming, coolers stacked everywhere, music carrying through the trees late into the night. By Friday, the place already feels fully alive, less like a race venue and more like a yearly motocross pilgrimage where thousands of people show up expecting the loudest weekend of the summer. Then the bikes fire, and everything tightens. The sound changes, the crowd locks in, and by the time the first gate drops, the noise isn't background anymore. It's pressure. You can feel it build in waves, rising with every rev, every start, every move into the first corner. Because at RedBud, riders feel the crowd everywhere. On the start, down the straights, and especially when they hit LaRocco's lead and the entire hillside reacts at once. It's not a distant roar. It's close, constant, and overwhelming in the best way. It follows you around the track, never letting you fully reset. Then there's the chant. RedBud. 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 The chant builds the same way the crowd does. It starts with a few people stretched across the hillside yelling RedBud back and forth, then slowly gets louder as more fans join in. By the middle of the motos, it's everywhere, echoing through the trees, rolling across the hillsides, cutting through the sound of the bikes. At RedBud, it stops sounding like a chant after a while. It just becomes part of the atmosphere. That's the difference. RedBud isn't quiet between moments. It's loud all the time. The energy doesn't spike, it sustains. And when it builds, it feels like the entire place is leaning forward at once, reacting as a single unit. Riders talk about it differently too. Some feed off of it. They ride faster, push harder, take risks they might not take somewhere else because the energy just carries them. The others feel it as pressure because when a crowd reacts to every move, every mistake feels amplified. There's nowhere to hide, no quiet section to regroup mentally. That's rare in motocross. Most tracks test riders physically. RedBud tests them emotionally. It asks if you can stay composed when everything around you is loud, unpredictable, and reacting to every second of what you're doing. And the timing matters. 4th of July weekend. That's when this place turns into something else entirely. Flags everywhere, noise that doesn't stop. By that point, the whole weekend feels bigger than the race itself. A celebration with motocross at the center of it, surrounded by energy that carries from morning to night. That's why riders circle this one, not just because of the track, because of what the track becomes when the crowd shows up. Because at RedBud, the fans don't just witness the race, they create it. RedBud had always been loud, but in 2018, the Motocross of Nations turned it into something else entirely. For the first time, the biggest international race in motocross came to one of the loudest tracks in America, and fans treated it like more than a race weekend. Campers flooding in early, hillsides filled with flags from every direction. France, Netherlands, Great Britain, Australia, Italy. Entire sections of the crowd started feeling like their own country scattered across the property. But even with fans flying in from all over the world, RedBud still felt unmistakably American. Louder, more aggressive, more emotional. And then the rain came. The track turned brutal almost immediately. Deep mud, massive ruts, riders getting stuck. Goggles were covered in mud before the moto even settled. RedBud already demanded adaptation in normal conditions. Now, it was just survival. Every lap was even more unpredictable than usual. Riders were swapping lines corner by corner, just trying to keep the momentum alive. And somehow, the crowd got louder because of it. Every save got a reaction. Every pass felt amplified. You could hear the hillsides erupt when riders made it through sections that looked almost impossible to survive. It stopped feeling polished or controlled. It felt raw, like the entire event was hanging together corner by corner. That's what shocked so many international fans and riders. Not just the size of the crowd, but the way it affected the racing itself. Team USA came in with Eli Tomac, Aaron Plessinger, and Justin Barcia, carrying massive expectations. On home soil, at RedBud, with that kind of support behind them, it felt like the perfect setup for an American win. But the event slipped away. The Netherlands won motos outright in the mud, but France survived the chaos better than everyone else and won their 5th straight Motocross of Nations.
Coldenhoff led the way. He went on to make it a perfect day here. Herlings, his teammate, came home in second. But Gauthier Paulin, his 3rd place finish in race 2 was enough for France to be crowned world champions and lift the Chamberlain Trophy for a 5th consecutive time.
Once again, the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations was totally epic. The fans were on their feet until the very last moment to witness another page of motocross history. The European riders showcased their dirt bike skills and took up every step of the podium, and did so on American soil.
For American fans, the result hurt because RedBud had delivered everything except the ending they wanted. But even in defeat, something changed. Because once the weekend ended, riders from all over the world left talking about the same thing. They had never experienced an atmosphere like that at a motocross before. The noise, the pressure, the hillsides, the chant echoing through the trees. MXoN 2018 didn't just put RedBud on the international stage, it made the track feel larger than the championship itself. And 4 years later, the story came back to the same place. By 2022, RedBud didn't feel new anymore. It felt unfinished. The crowd came back louder than before. International fans filled the hillsides again, but this time, the pressure around Team USA felt different. Less excitement, more expectation. Because after more than a decade without winning the Motocross of Nations, 2nd place wasn't enough anymore. And this time, Team USA finally delivered. Eli Tomac rode with the control of a veteran who understood exactly what the moment meant. Chase Sexton carried elite speed all weekend. Justin Cooper quietly put together the kind of consistent rides that win MXoN events. And when the final motos ended, RedBud exploded in a completely different way than it had in 2018. Not heartbreak, relief. After 11 years of waiting, Team USA finally won the Motocross of Nations again, and they did it at RedBud.
No won the race. Jet Lawrence was second, but when Chase Sexton crossed the line in 3rd place, he, along with his teammate Eli Tomac in 6th, had done enough to be crowned world champions and the winners of the 22 edition of the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations.
11 years. How we feeling?
It's done, man. Hey, these don't come easy.
Yeah.
These don't come easy. Epic weekend. I mean, from the beginning, it felt good, felt right. We got done.
Cooper, you happy?
Yeah, you told us what was going to happen. It was all business from there, so.
Chase?
It was, for me being my first one, the nerves are a lot different than normal races. Even the last day for the championship, this was something that is weighs on your shoulders a little bit more. And that first one I rode super tight, and that one was a lot better. So glad to get it done, and especially here at RedBud. It's gonna be good.
Say, bud. Congrats. You're a big dog, man.
Same hillsides, same crowd, same chant rolling through the trees. But this time, the place finally got the ending it had been waiting for. RedBud isn't just a track. It's a standard for what motocross is supposed to feel like. Because when you strip everything down, no over-polish, no artificial control, RedBud shows you the sport in its most honest form. And that honestly comes from 3 things that don't exist together anywhere else quite the same way. First, pure American motocross. The track is raw, fast, open, and physical. It doesn't try to smooth itself out for comfort. It lets the dirt break, the ruts deepen, the lines evolve. It demands adaptation. It demands toughness. And it never lets riders settle into something predictable. Even when you think you've figured it out, the track changes just enough to remind you that you haven't. Again, this isn't a track you master. It's a track you survive. Second, fan culture at its peak. At most races, the crowd reacts to what happens. At RedBud, the crowd changes what happens. The energy isn't passive, it's constant. It builds, it carries, it pushes riders into moments they might not reach somewhere else. The noise doesn't just follow the race, it shapes it, turning small moments into defining ones. That matters more than people realize, because when you combine physical demand with emotional pressure, you get something different. You get mistakes you wouldn't normally see. You get risks that only exist in that moment. You get riders feeding off the noise, or getting swallowed by it. a version of racing that feels closer to instinct than calculation. RedBud doesn't just test your riding, it tests how you handle everything around you. Third, a true test track. By Moto 2, RedBud becomes something else entirely. The speed is still there, but now it's layered with fatigue, deep ruts, blown out lines, and decisions that carry real consequences. It stops being about who's fastest and starts being about who can adapt the longest. The margin for error shrinks, and every choice matters more than the last. That's the difference between a good racetrack and a great one. A good track shows you who's fast. A great track shows you who can hold it together when things fall apart. And RedBud does that every single year. Winning here doesn't just say you were the fastest rider that day. It says you handled the chaos, you managed the track. You stayed composed when the noise got louder, the lines got deeper, and the race got harder. It proves you can perform when everything is working against you. It says you earned it the hard way. Because RedBud isn't built to give you anything. It's really built to take everything you have and see what's left. RedBud isn't just another stop on the calendar. It's where everything meets at once. The track, the riders, and the crowd, all pushing each other to the limit. The dirt breaks down, the lines disappear, the noise gets louder, and by the end of the day, it's not just about speed anymore. It's about who can handle the moment when everything starts to fall apart. That's why it matters. That's why you see guys who've raced 100 nationals still talk about this one differently. Because somewhere on the last lap of Moto 2, with the ruts 3 feet deep and the hillside still screaming, and LaRocco's leap coming up one more time, that's the moment. That's what RedBud actually is. Not a race, a reckoning. Drop your favorite RedBud moment below, race, rider, or story. And as always, stay wicked.